Welcome to the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game by talking through and dissecting game film and diving deeper to explain why the X's zig and the O's zag. I am Adam Marino, joined by Mr. Johnny Dell, and we are reminding you, as always, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube, where we go live. There you can comment into the live show. Be sure to hit the notification bell and turn on your notifications so you can be a part of the conversation. We also stream live on Facebook and X. Also, the audio versions are always found on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, if you are live with us in the chat, it's probably because you are subscribed, you've hit the notification bell, and turned those notifications on. So, when sharing with your friends, be sure to let them know. We also love to hear from you outside of our live show. Email us at johnnydellsfootballacademy@gmail.com, and you can always check out the website jfa49.com, as it is the most fun way to support the channel. Also, the way we boost the chat and boost the algorithm is to type out hashtag JD49.
What is up this morning? We have a wonderful, I'm going to zoom in on myself a little bit more. It is Labor Day weekend. We are the weekend before real football is back. The season will have actually begun. All the offseason is over. This Thursday, the NFL season kicks off with Ravens, Chiefs. First time in a while, I'll be pulling for the Ravens because we hate them Chiefs. And then on a week from today, 1 week from today, the 49ers kick off their season Monday night against the Jets. Adam Marino, our co-host, will be there. He is not here this morning. He tried to get in. He is experiencing some technical difficulties. If you remember, he told us all he was going to be partying out in Las Vegas. Well, he is partying so hard in Las Vegas, he got locked out of his room, and he is unable to get in and connect and be a part of the show this morning. So pour one out for Adam, as he is not with us. He is gone but not forgotten this morning. But thank you to all the people jumping into the chat and getting us going. I might not be as responsive in the chat as I normally am because I get really, really distracted by the chat because y'all have so many amazing things that you put in there. Big shout out to my wifey who is in the chat. She's at home with the kids right now, so I can be here doing a little show. Being that we are just 1 week, 7 days away from the 49ers kicking off their season and everything that has happened over the last 2 days, I started to really think, has this been the craziest offseason the 49ers have ever had? And this morning I sat down and I started going through the timeline, and I truly do not think we have had a crazier, more wild offseason than we have had this year. And what does that mean for the season that we have coming up? Because so let's just take it back. You can even say at the end how the season ended that you have Dre Greenlaw tearing his Achilles, running out onto the field, not in a play, not trying to make a football move, literally going from the sideline to the field, tears his Achilles. And you have this wild overtime loss in the Super Bowl. And then the first thing I think that we all have completely forgotten about by this point is that within days of the Super Bowl, Mooney Ward posts on Instagram that he's gone in and had like 2 surgeries. And nobody knew he was dealing with an injury, period, let alone he had an injury that required surgery. And I think it was 2 surgeries. So that kind of kicked everything off of saying, wait a minute. And then, well, I wasn't expecting to see that. I think how many times this offseason did we think that? I wasn't expecting that to show up on my timeline or to be in the news. And then the next thing that happens after that is the 49ers release 9-year veteran of the team, Eric Armstead, a guy who had been, I think he spent 10 seasons with the team, that they had just restructured his contract the year before, giving him more guaranteed money, and they released him. Apparently, they approached him about a pay cut. He did not take too kindly to that, and so he ended up getting released. The most veteran player on the team was just outright released, and he went and signed with the Tennessee Titans. And in that, then the 49ers let Javon Kinlaw walk, and they trade for Malik Collins from the Texans. And then they also trade for Jordan Elliott from the Browns. Okay. This is a little weird, but not necessarily completely unexpected. Eric Armstead had been missing a lot of games the previous 2 years, had gone a stretch of well over a month of the season, each of the past 2 seasons, where he had been unavailable, and then in the playoffs was not exactly playing at a really, really high level. So, maybe letting him walk and trading for Malik Collins would be a little bit of an upgrade. And then a team that is coming off of a season when Colton McKivitz was one of the worst pass blocking right tackles in the league, pass blocking tackles, period, in the league. The 49ers sign willingly Colton McKivitz, who is under contract. They sign him to an extension, paying him $8 million. I didn't see that coming. Excuse me. Yes, Dre Area. Big shout out to Andre from Dre Area Sports. You should go be subscribe to his channel. Yes, he went to the Jaguars with Trent Baalke, who drafted him in the first place. That's where he did go. So I was thinking the Titans of Rand Carthon, but no, he did go to the Jags. Good catch on that one. See, that's why sometimes I don't follow the chat as much, because I do get distracted. But yeah, Colton McKivitz gets an extension. I was not expecting Colton McKivitz to get an extension from the team. I was expecting the team to just let him play out his contract this year and then be actively looking in this year's draft to upgrade that right tackle position. But instead, they turned around and gave Colton McKivitz an extension. Didn't expect that one coming at all. And then they turned around and gave another extension to Christian McCaffrey, which we didn't even know they were working on. That wasn't even something that I think was on the radar for a lot of us. Christian McCaffrey had the one benefit of trading for him was that the Panthers were eating a lot of his signing bonus, and that they were carrying a lot of the cap, cost of him on the team because they had paid his signing bonus. And that was one of the benefits that you could get Christian McCaffrey with all those draft picks, that you get him, plus you get him at a big discount off of what it was. And then they turn around and they've given him an extension and paid him back to $19 million a year. I was not expecting that. And then you get to the draft, and we'd all done all these different draft area times, and they turn around, and in that first round, all of us are mocking them to have and not, mocking isn't make fun of, what I mean by mocking them, is that everybody had foreseen them picking maybe a corner, maybe a tackle, because they really needed a tackle. I'm trying not to mess with my camera here that has this autofocus. That you saw them doing that, maybe defensive line, because they had just released Eric Armstead. Surely it's not going to be a wide receiver, because they're in the middle of Brandon Aiyuk at this point with stage 1. Brandon Aiyuk stage 1, where they're trying to get an extension done. They have Deebo Samuel under contract. They had Juwan Jennings, who they had just re-signed to an $8 million contract. Surely first round would not be a wide receiver. It would be almost any other position. But no, the 49ers surprise us all with picking Ricky Pearsall, a player nobody had in any mock draft or any draft projections going to the 49ers. Outside of the Falcons picking a quarterback after signing Kirk Cousins, there was the biggest surprise of the first round was San Francisco picking Ricky Pearsall. That was not foreseen by anybody. And so now that's the first big surprise. Then they surprise us again by later, when one of the top tackle prospects was still on the board, Kingsley Suamataia. The 49ers not only trade back, they trade back with the team that beat them in the Super Bowl. They trade back and watch the Chiefs pick up Kingsley Suamataia at a position of their need, and then they draft a quarterback, Renardo Green. It's all very surprising. I think if you stopped there, that would be a lot of twists and turns for the 49ers offseason. But then you end up, after the draft, entering Brandon Aiyuk stage 2, which was now the negotiations are supposed to start in earnest, and there's supposed to be movement. And instead, we're seeing a lot of weird social media clips where Brandon Aiyuk is going on different podcasts, and he's talking about Jaden Daniels and how great Jaden Daniels is and how great it would be to be in a system with Jaden Daniels. And he's posting clips of the Washington Commanders practice. Now we're getting into a weird Brandon Aiyuk stage 2, that ended up culminating in him requesting a trade, for doing that thing that so many players have done, which is, now I've requested a trade. Okay. It's truly become a wild offseason. In that, we see some pictures right as training camp starts that apparently Brock Purdy turned into baby Bosa. So, there's that. You didn't expect your quarterback to come back looking like that. And then training camp starts, and Brandon Aiyuk is there. He's present, but he's not actually participating in camp. He's having a hold in, and the 49ers classify it as a sore back. So Brandon Aiyuk is there with a sore back, and he sits out all preseason and training camp. And the bigger surprise, we all knew that Brandon Aiyuk was looking for that contract, and he was weird, and he was looking for that big extension, his first really massive payday. In that, Trent Williams doesn't show up for camp, and everyone's saying, wait a minute, we didn't know that Trent Williams was unhappy with his contract situation, that he's looking for an extension. Well, surely they're going to get this done pretty quickly. It's Trent Williams. He's maybe, outside of Brock Purdy, the most and Nick Bosa, the most important player to this team. But instead, it's been over a month, and Trent Williams is still not back with the team. He's still not signed a new extension. And so we have Trent Williams surprising everybody with the holdout, and he's not there. And then training camp kicks off, and within the first week, you have massive injuries happening. Spencer Burford breaks his hand. John Feliciano hurts his knee. He ends up having to have a scope on that knee, and he's not going to be back until some point in the middle of the season. Aaron Banks breaks a finger. He has to have surgery. He's out for 3 weeks. He's supposed to be back next Monday, but he hasn't taken any reps or really done anything in practice for almost 3 weeks. And it just seems like injuries hit everything. And then you hit Brandon Aiyuk in the middle of all that. You hit Brandon Aiyuk stage 3, where seemingly every hour there's new reports and new posts on social media that a deal is imminent. We have this shadowy character come out of the woodwork, Pretty Ricky on Twitter, on X, saying he's got sources. Brandon Aiyuk will be a Steeler. And this catches steam all over X, where you have, big time NFL insiders having to try and come out and debunk things that are going on. And you have people claiming sources everywhere that are saying a deal is imminent. Brandon Aiyuk will be a Patriot. Nope, he's not going to be a Patriot. He didn't want to go there. Brandon Aiyuk will be a Cleveland Brown. Nope, he's not a Cleveland Brown. He didn't want to go there. Brandon Aiyuk will be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Book it. It will happen. The deal is in place. We saw this day after day. It seemed like every hour there was a new report that something with Brandon Aiyuk was imminent. I have never seen the more ups and downs and twists and turns with a player than what was going on with Brandon Aiyuk. How it seemingly was every 6 hours there was a new breaking, almost their development. And it was just one of the wildest times I've seen it. And Ian Rappaport has even come out and said that contract negotiation was one of the wildest, most unpredictable contract negotiation processes he's ever covered, he's ever looked into, of what was really going on, that there were so many twists and turns in it. That alone would make this one of the most wild and crazy off seasons that we've had with the 49ers. And then and again, throughout this, the team is stacking injury after injury after injury during training camp, to the point that they have to cancel joint practices ahead of a preseason game with the Saints. That preseason, joint practices that Kyle Shanahan values almost more than anything. But they are so banged up, they're so hurt, they have to cancel joint practices. I don't remember a time over the last 10 years that the 49ers have canceled joint practices during training camp because they had so many injuries. I can't remember a time where they've ever canceled joint practices during training camp. But that's where things were. And then we have this weird situation against the Saints where Brock Purdy starts and plays in 3 series in that game with only 3 offensive starters. And at that point, it was really only 2 because Dominic Puni had not been named a starter. He was starting and playing 3 series in that game with only a starting center and starting right tackle. The worst pass blockers on the starting line this year. And we see 3 series with that, with him getting hit. I've never seen a team do that. I've never seen a team put their starting quarterback out there with no other starters other than their center and right tackle. I've never seen this happen in preseason when games don't even matter. I don't understand all of that. That's wild. It's crazy. I've never seen it from anybody, from any team. I don't understand it. And then you enter Brandon Aiyuk stage 4, which was the team medically clears Brandon Aiyuk from his back injury, where now, if he continues to hold out, there's going to be fines that accrue. They're starting to hold his feet to the fire and say, this is our best offer, take it or leave it, which many people had been reported and was thought was about $28 million a year. That seemed, the report was that the Steelers had offered him 28.5, and that's what they were looking at, was that it was going to be about a $28 million a year deal. And then 3 days later, Brandon Aiyuk signs an extension. Finally, he signs with the 49ers, not for 28 a year, for 30 million a year. And not only that, it's $1.5 million over what the Steelers were going to offer. And not only that, it's reported that has been on the table for over 3 weeks. I don't understand it. It's wild. It's odd. It makes no sense. If you stopped right there, that would be the craziest, maybe the craziest offseason that I can remember for the 49ers. Maybe. Some that might be in the conversation as craziest off seasons. I think maybe 2015, after that year when suddenly we had Justin Smith retired, and he announced we knew that was coming. We knew that was going to be there. But then about a week later, Patrick Willis suddenly, unexpectedly, announces his retirement. And this is in a time when Jim Harbaugh had just been fired. So Jim Harbaugh was fired at the end of that year. They promote the defensive line coach to head coach over his boss, his defensive coordinator, who interviewed for the same job. When you have this weird situation where an unproven guy who's a defensive line coach and only ever been a defensive line coach is promoted to head coach, and you fire, the guy who had the same win-loss record as George Seifert with the team. And there's this weird power struggle in there. And Patrick Willis retires, citing that he feels like the team is in good hands because Chris Borland emerged as a player on the team, and he felt like the team was in good hands at linebacker. And then a week after Patrick Willis retires, Chris Borland retires. Out of nowhere. Young guy. Played one season. Decided he didn't want to risk head injuries. So, in one offseason, you had a complete dismantling of a team that had gone to 3 straight NFC championship games. That might be in the same conversation as what we've seen this offseason. I think back to maybe the year that Eddie DeBartolo was found not reporting a felony when he was being extorted by the lieutenant governor of Louisiana, and he was suspended for a year. And in that, then surrendered his control of football operations and anything to do with the team and ownership of the team to his sister. That might be because of just that, the circumstances of that, and Eddie and an owner handing over his team. That might be in the conversation of what most wild off seasons with the 49ers. But I think there's something, again, at the end at this offseason that really just pushes it to another level. And that's, we found out 2 days ago that Ricky Pearsall was leaving a signing event that he'd done for the team. And there was an attempted robbery to steal his Rolex watch. And he was shot in the chest. And the robber was shot in the chest as well. First round pick that you didn't even see coming to be on your team, who has been working his way back from injury 9 days before the start of the season, gets shot in the chest. Turns out he's okay, and he's released from the hospital less than 24 hours after being shot in the chest. Through and through. At that point, I saw it coming across my news feed. Ricky Pearsall shot in the chest. Thank God he's okay. And that he came away with essentially, I mean, I would never call being shot in the chest a minor injury. That's generally not, an injury that I would consider minor in any way. But glad he's okay. Glad he was able to be released from the hospital with only, 24 hours later. But what's next? What is next for this team? I mean, this is ridiculous. The football gods are coming against the 49ers in some sort of way. This is wild. I don't understand any of this. I don't understand how any of this happens, why that this offseason has been what it's been. And to take the icing on the top of the cake is that the 49ers were having a team party that night, and we see that Trent Williams, who is reportedly unhappy and is threatening to miss games, is pictured with Aiyuk, with Debo, and with Shanahan at the team season kickoff party. So Trent Williams is there, but he's not with the team. But he seems happy, but he's apparently unhappy. I don't even know what to make of any of this, heads or tails, up or down, of what's going on anymore. If there was a moment to try and predict what was about to happen for the 49ers, I think the only thing that this means for this season is that we have no idea, no way to predict anything that is going to happen this season. This has been the most unpredictable season the 49ers, offseason of the 49ers, I think, of anything. If somebody could have guessed every one of those things going on, they deserve to win the lottery, and not even close. This has been the wildest offseason I think I can ever remember. What do you think? Going through that timeline, do you think that this has been the wildest offseason that you can ever remember? Have you ever remembered seeing this kind of crazy news almost week after week, day after day, something else that you just can't see? And Glass is saying Trent wasn't there. I unless that's a Trent Williams lookalike, that Trent was there. So, I'm maybe somebody who has the same height and everything as Trent, but maybe not. But yeah, it's wild. I don't understand how to make heads or tails of everything. It's just, it isn't. And I saw the picture on X. It sure looked like Trent Williams. Again, same beard, same stature, same everything. Now he's wearing glasses. It sure looks like Trent Williams. Now maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't. I may be wrong on that. It was Rick Ross. Okay, it was Rick Ross. Don't understand Rick Ross. He's doing his best Trent Williams impression. Even without that, Trent Williams is still not there. And we are here 7 days away from the start of the season, and Trent Williams is not signed for the team. And we have Jalen Moore slated as the guy who's going to start against that New York Jets defense. I don't feel great about that. I don't feel great. You have Sauce Gardner is going to be covering. Sauce Gardner is going to be covering a Brandon Aiyuk who has not taken any training camp reps, has not taken any training camp or preseason time, is going to be going on basically 1 week of practice, and he's going to be covered by Sauce Gardner. How do you feel about that? I don't feel good about that. Everyone's just slamming me in the chat there. That was Rick Ross. Look, everybody makes mistakes. It's been a wild offseason. I don't even have my coffee this morning. I walked out of the house this morning without my coffee. So it is what it is. Even with all of that, what were some things that you maybe saw happening from this offseason of the weird things? Did you see the no, I'm not talking. Okay, people are up in arms in here that doesn't look like Trent Williams. I've got to pull this up, what I saw. So, because people are all mad at me. Where is it here? It's going to take me a minute. Y'all have just sidetracked me here. I'm a lost cause here. I can't even find anything. It wasn't the picture with Shanahan standing there with the two guys. It was like an overhead view, and you could see like the side of his face. It sure looked like Trent Williams. Big bushy beard that Trent we see, and the glasses. That's what I saw. But you guys just need to let it go. It's what it is. Everybody makes mistakes. I make mistakes. You make mistakes. We all make mistakes, people. But what did you see happening? Did you see the Christian McCaffrey extension coming? Did you see the Colton McKivitz extension coming? Did you see this Brandon Aiyuk situation taking as long as it did? Did you foresee Brock Purdy coming back looking like Swole Purdy? Did you see that happening? Did you see the Trent Williams holdout coming? Did you see Ricky Pearsall getting shot? If you did, why didn't you stop it? But did anybody there see, foresee all this stuff happening? I sure didn't. It's just it just is what it is at this point. This is a wild offseason, and I think anything, like I said, it says is that the 49ers season will be completely unpredictable. You could predict that the first quarter of the season we're going to have a certain record, and you don't know what's going to be going on. You don't know what's going to happen with injuries. You don't know what's going to be happening with play. You don't know what's going to be happening with a lot of stuff. So with all of that, I think this sets up potentially one of the most seasons to watch for the 49ers, because we truly don't know what's going to happen this season. If this preseason and this offseason has been any indicator, we cannot know what is going to happen. We don't know when Ricky Pearsall will even be back at this point. I mean, I don't blame him at all. I'd be wanting to take a leave of absence from work for a little while if I got shot in the chest. That's a serious thing. So, what do you think? Was this the wildest offseason you can remember? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat. With that, I'll let everybody get to the rest of their Labor Day weekend. if you're still looking for some more content, you can head on over. Eric Crocker is live right now. So you can head on over to his channel, check him out, see what he's doing there. Andre is popping in here with his other profile. Dre has come back. He's Nicotine and Network. He started out with Dre Area Sports, and now he's commenting his Nicotine and Network. Man, I see you. You're not slipping away from me. I see that through that disguise. I may not be able to recognize Trent Williams, but I can recognize you. We'll do it. But anyways, y'all have a fantastic Labor Day. Do something great. Have some time with the people that matter to you in your life. And until next time, stay safe.